Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Alrighty, Ro. Hi, everyone. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for being here. I've changed the lighting. It's a little bit warmer on this video, so if you notice a difference from the last ones and you have a moment, please let me know in the comments. Better, worse? It's hard to tell how this actually ends up on YouTube, so I like the warmer color in here, but my monitor may not look like yours. So please let me know. All right. Part 4. Are we ever going to end with this? Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. Those of you who've bought Beyond Zen, one of the books I have on offer at lulu.com/spotlight/Kwoon, Kwoon. I'll put that link in, I guess, the description. And because I can't figure out how to post an image for a video on YouTube so that you can download an image separate from the video file itself, what I'm going to do, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it up on threefoldlotus.com, our resource site, under the threefoldlotus.com/home/home.htm, I mean. That's the one with like 50 buttons for typically asked questions about Buddhism. So I've got a ton of resource material there, and I will add a button to this image. Hold me to that, because between here and the house and 498 footsteps, I'm very apt to forget. I'm getting old, folks. All right. So I'm going to put this image up in the video. You could screen grab it from the video. And I'll put 2 different versions up. There's a version, and the reason I brought this book up is because, well, this one has all kinds of chicken scratch on it from me. But you've seen this image before in a couple videos prior to this. But I'm going to put up a pristine image on the screen for a little while. I'll do that here. And then I will put up an augmented version of it that will go along with this video, this lecture, this chat. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to tie this all together from the standpoint of the Lotus Sutra. That's not the order in which this was taught, but we're well beyond that time and the capacity of the people of that time. We are in Mappo. We are in the latter age. So how can studying, you may ask, I would, studying the earlier teaching benefit me now? Okay, this is all interesting, and it's very confusing, and what the hell does it mean to Namo Myoho Renge Kyo? Why do I have to learn all? Well, you don't have to. You can just go on chanting, using your mandala of Gohanzan, focus your energies, keep your resolve up, make sure that you're single-mindedly chanting while you're in front of your mandala, to instantiate, to peer through with the mind lens of Buddha. See as Buddha would. You are Buddha. Buddha is part of your cellular makeup. It's just your earthly mind of samsara of voracious attachment that's in the way. And that's where this teaching might help you understand why, how, where, what's going on. I thought I just had to lose old habits. I just had to become a better person. I just had to change my ways in ways that maybe I don't even know because they're subconscious. You know, this is all the vernacular of a modern person, right? Things like conscious, unconscious, habits, bad habits, good habits. It's actually, those words are a perceptive filter for a shorthand of understanding what we're doing. And that's fine, they work in everyday language. But as Buddhists, we want to understand, and it's incredibly helpful to know, what are bad habits? What is a subconscious? Is that never accessible? Buddhism doesn't look at the mind in the same way as ordinary everyday vernacular. Even medical doctors who spend years learning and teaching and practicing, unless you're talking to a neurologist who's investigating the plasticity of the brain, you're not likely to get a much more in-depth language about what's going on in the mind. Not even there, because they're concerned with the functions of the brain and the nervous system. Buddhism goes beyond this physical limitation of understanding. Buddhism understands that the brain is just a tool used by consciousness. Doctors don't know how to describe consciousness. They'll make stabs at it. There's a great combination, and I just thought of it, but I can't remember the neurologist's name. He works with one of my favorites, Roger Penrose, in talking about what is consciousness. And it has to do with quantum fields and quantum effects, and that's still a very touchy area. Whether you're a mathematician, a cosmologist, a particle physicist, I always said that, or a physical doctor or a neurologist, all of those fields look at this field of study. I'm saying field a lot, but it's quantum fields and quantum gravity and quantum, all of that stuff that grabs the attention of these fellows, because woman or man with this kind of investigative expertise sees a lot of potential for answered questions there, but they have by no means definitively answered them yet. Buddhism is on that level. And I don't want you to go to school to be a neurologist so you can understand how to chant Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. But I think if we talk about it a little bit, you will gain lots of insights, your own insights, into how profound life is, really. So, okay, let's go through this list and start defining things. I should have printed one out for myself. You've heard me say again and again, talk about energy. I talk about it as potential energy. I talk about it as energy. Where did I store that now? Oh, yeah. Energy as potential, energy as kinetics, energy as momentum, right? All these different definitions of what the heck is talking about in relation to consciousness, and in relation to life, and in relation to being. Okay? So, from potential energy, we start at the top with the Nidana. And this is the conditional Genesis chart. And the transcendental base, I don't know why I called it that. That's in reference to a lot of scholarship about the Nidana and so forth, but transcendental in that we transcend our samsaric understanding, perspective of life, so we can peer under the hood and say, okay, how did I get here? What's going on? What's making me see things? What's making me argue with this screen right now? Or my printer, which isn't, or this screen capture, which isn't getting this damn image, and I want it. Why am I doing that? Seriously, though, I laugh, but seriously. So what we have, and you'll see I put a bracket around here of the first four, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first of the Nidana is avidya, which I would say in regards to energy is the first agitation. And we won't know what that means until we get to the end of this, which you can already see on the screen, but bear with me. So we have the avidya is a definition, a word that talks about the concept of ignorance, unawareness. It's said here that man is a god who is unaware that he is such. That's an interesting quote from Julius Evola, but I don't think that it's necessary to see it in that way. So I might want to retract that quote. What's important to get here is this is the initial stage of differentiation. We don't have differentiation yet. We're not making things distinct, but we're about to. And all of this, you have to understand, the Nidana happens instantly and instant to instant. In each moment of the 3,000 realms, in a single thought moment, the Nidana is at work. Because it is the moment of Vijja is that energy combines with work, effort. As soon as that happens, there's an inertia that rises from it and endures as momentum into the next combination, the next attachment. The next attachment begins right there. From that first instantiation, momentum carries or fades away and amounts to nothing. If it does carry on, the next step is sankhara, the predisposition. Already there's a predisposition. Just because energy has been put to work, in what direction? In what? If there's an effort being made, what is the effort about? So that's a tendency and a condition. Do you see how quickly the building blocks of consciousness are there? It looks like will, volition. It's an energy, it's kinetic. So if it picks up momentum, then the kinetics get bigger, stronger. And that is more agitation. And so more energy combines, works to then combine more, then momentum builds, kinetic builds, right? And the third one, Vijnana, distinctive consciousness, the germ of all that will eventually appear as individuality and the perception of the samsaric I, self, mind. It starts right there, right? And so we've gone through the first three. The second agitation, because of that momentum, because of that kinetic energy, now it's getting big, voracious. It's growing exponentially. From the fourth Nidana, we enter a polarized reality of this, that, self, other. We start differentiating our whatever that perception is with what is not that perception. And that brings us to Namarupa, name and form. Because if something isn't us, if we're perceiving something outside this construct of self, everything, including our fingernails, is other. Because self isn't a physical thing. It's the beginning of the illusion of self. Because when you think of yourself, you probably think of your name, or the things you like, or the way you are. You don't think of your kneecap. Maybe as you think about yourself, you start concerning yourself with these other aspects that you attach to yourself. Is my butt too big? My knees look funny. I forgot to paint my toenails. But you paint your toenails not because they are yourself. They're sales missions. They're points of advertising who you are. But they're not you, right? We know this intrinsically. So, as the Namarupa forms, this is a third agitation that sets into motion the Skandhas. That's where the Skandhas fit in. Because now, as this works, Namarupa has three separate aspects of Namarupa. Oh man, this has gotten bigger than the 12 Nidana now. We got subsets. And what are the 3 subsets? Well, on my diagram, I show a yin-yang symbol there. And you'll see that there's an arrow coming up from the bottom left, or near the bottom left, the 3 birth factors. Oh, Namarupa shapes even further into these 3 subcategories. Antavarbhava, name and form heredity, that's interesting, and identification. Those are instantiations of the Skandhas. Antarabhava, the first 3 Nidana, collectively the Antarabhava, combine as the samsaric entity from the preconditioned strain within all potential, like the condensation of rain, leading to waterfalls to become rivers and lakes. So, what's all blah blah that? This is because, if I haven't expressed it already, there are tons of streams of energy that have combined kinetically with momentum to get to this name and form stage of agitation. And they bring with them different tendencies and conditions. This is that amalgam that starts to be meaningful, and what Tindai talked about as Ichen and Sanzen, that karmically there's a shitload of connections that have been made, work and energy, to create specific karmas that now are already innumerable. And as the perception of name and form comes to be, it carries with it the karma of all of these combinations of energies and work. And they're not generic. A lot of them may seem so, but they're all in different orders, slightly different time. We haven't even gotten to time yet. We're still forming. Forming what? Forming a thought space. And how does space exist? It exists because of mass, because of amassing energy and momentum. This creates space and therefore time. But this is all happening, like I said, in an instant. So dissect that instance as much as you will. We're still in that building kinetic energy. Ichen in Sanzen, the Antarabhava, joins the Namarupa to insert itself as a particular group of samsaric heredity, accumulated karma. You see what I mean by heredity. I don't mean heredity as Bob comes from John and Alice. I mean heredity as in this momentum, this karmic momentum is heredity built on the previous assemblage, that vast assemblage of karma. Energy plus work is karma. And it's been with us from the very first step, but it was pretty simple until it started exploding into this exponential attachments of work, energy, work, karma. Remember? Very, very, very fundamental. At this point of the Nidana and the descent into birth, ascent, if you will, whatever, the three principles, Samkhya of Karana, Linga, and Stulsarira, are in place. The Western equivalents are Nous, Psyche, and Soma, or the mens, anima, and corpus. This, then, is the genesis of the consciousness into an instantiation of self-awareness through the conditioned existence of samsaric attachments to the world of name and form, yin-yang, self-other. This is the starting point for the personality or character that drives every aspect of our human manifestation, including temperament, hair, eye color, and body type, so on and so forth. So, what I'm pointing out here is that through the Namarupa stage, this yin-yang area, we are already in samsara. We haven't even become a body yet, but we're in samsara. We are conditioning our instantiation. Now, the fifth Nidana, Sad Ayatana, assumption of the sixfold base, there's your Skandhas already. The development of the sensory fields or strands appear at this point, which, through contact, quote unquote, the various sense impressions and various images of the instantiation will crave self-awareness. The six senses are touch, hearing, sight, smell, taste, and thought. The Skandhas. Now, we would say, and the Skandhas are listed out here basically in the Phasa, Vedana, Tana, Upadana. These are contact, feeling, thirst, awakening of sensory fields, forming the desires for continued experience of sensations, craving, to embrace. That's, again, another attachment, sense of self, differentiated from others. So now we're not just differentiating karma, but we're differentiating this bucket of karma as an independent entity. You see how samsara is already working its stuff. And you might consider this what we would call in our physical world when the ovum and the sperm work together. The sperm penetrates the egg, the cell starts to split. That is the first, outside of Namarupa, the third aspect of Namarupa is this determination to be this identity. And while it's forming, this is the third entity I keep talking about in birth. While it's forming, the bhava, which is where I wrote 9 consciousnesses, it's kind of cut off there, but you know what it is. This is where becoming, manifestation of the will to exist as the samsaric I, comes into being. No pun intended. And this is where, when I talked about, you watch this zygote form and cells breaking apart and instantiating a head, a body, and then legs, and then arms, and then fingers and toes, and then a nose and a mouth and the eyes. This is all from all of that momentum now put together as a self and an integrated unit called human or fetus, eventually to be a human, right? And jati is birth, the instantiation of a predisposed consciousness into the phenomenal world of name and form from the eternal flow or continuum strand of consciousnesses, which now adds a new impermanent consciousness extant only in this phenomenal pretext in a state of dukkha. This commences our lifetime in samsara, our conditional self. Basically, our ego. Our manifested instantiation of all that karma is now becoming a human being to dance around in the physical world and go, ha ha ha, here I am, here I am, here I am. I think, therefore I am. You think, therefore you should know that every single moment you think, all of this is going on. And you are, because of the tremendous boatload of karma, better word, sorry, than before, that is pushing you along. But you are only here for a little while so that you can come to terms with what just happened. And your whole life is about experiencing that, aha, this is how it works. This is how I am. And therefore, if you understand this is how I am, you understand, one, the nature, the tremendous momentum and kinetics that are pushing you along through this human life, and therefore respect the amount of effort it's going to take to influence that unknowable amount of karma with the instances you can make in each and every moment of this human life to reach back into that and influence it as you witness your forward momentum shifting one way or another, depending on how you influence that boatload of karma. That's the practice. That's what we're doing when we're chanting to this mandala. We're saying, I want all of that truckload, a truckload of karma to be influenced by my realization of what's going on with it. Because in our human life, we're constantly stressed about what's going on. We don't understand or we don't think about the boatload of karma that's pushing us through time. We just think things are happening to us, and we're not altogether sure why. Sometimes we are, but we're usually just stabbing at it. I think this is what's going on. I think I have to react this way. Because you're using your samsaric boatload engine to figure it out, and it's not very good at that. But with your Buddha mind, you can understand, oh, that's what's happening. Oh, shh. Calm yourself. 3,000 monkeys over there. Here's some bananas. Quiet down. And suddenly, your inertia shifts. Your momentum shifts a little bit. This is the benefit of attaining Buddhahood. Not because you get to float in the air on a lotus flower, but because you are interacting with your very fundamental tendencies and conditions of life. So if you don't like some things that are going on in your life, chant. Chant to open, single-mindedly open your Buddha lens, your Buddha-ness, whatever you want to call it. Because simply by doing that, your Buddha mind will observe what's actually going on. Oh, I see where that source of suffering is coming. Let me affect it. Let me influence it. This is why life is dukkha, life is suffering, because when that boatload of karma instantiates as a human, all of the effects that it stirs in this physical environment are an assault on those attachments all the time. You don't even know where some of this is coming from. You know you experience it as, I can't seem to understand stuff that other people understand. I can't seem to get along with this type of person, or they see me this way, or I don't like my hair, or all of that. It's all suffering. And it's suffering born of these massive amounts of tendencies and conditions, this momentum. So life is suffering. That's the nature of how this karma works. Energy plus momentum means a decision has been made and you're not aware of all of them. You notice I didn't use the word subconscious because that's a shorthand that's more confusing than it's helpful. What's happening is the skandhas. What's happening is the 9 consciousnesses. And if I chant with the other diagram I showed you, with my daimoku piercing through each of those consciousnesses, I am waking them up. I am calming them down. I am redirecting them toward a Buddha-like existence, a calm, reasonable, joyful, amazed, awestruck experience, because I'm dumping the irritations, the agitations that are creating the suffering. Does this make sense? So then we go into the Noble Truths, yeah. So I'm relating the conditions. Oh, okay, that's what I want. The Jaramarana, right? That's the 12th one. Basically, that stands for our human existence and death, the experience of the Four Noble Truths. And I put underneath there, our reminder always is that every moment this is instantiating is birth, endurance, and death. So at the bottom, it's a little confusing what I got going on there, but your potential in the 12th Nidana, in every single moment, is to awaken. That's why I have the Lotus there. Isn't that clever? Anyway, once you awaken, there's an arrow going back toward nirvana, and the other arrow coming from the top to the bottom, that's a little confusing. So I put a note on the bottom: return energy causes agitation in potential field. Now we're right back to the first agitation. Right? So the question initially is, if energy is quiescent, why doesn't it just stay that way? Well, because of this birth, endurance, death cycle of every mass element of mass in the universe, we also, as a huge boatload of this karma, have, and each of the karmas themselves have birth, endurance, and death, right? Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, every moment of a life. The energy of a death of a moment or a death of an entire lifetime of this whole boatload of karma, where does it go? This is the subject of, is there something after life, right? After death, after life. All right? None, no such thing. Because when the mind dies, all of that boatload of karma, which you'll recall is a construct of energy and work, which amalgamate to do this whole Nidana in each and every moment. When the mind ceases to exist, when the Buddha was entered extinction, is the verbiage, that was this physical instantiation of all that karma. When it's done, you're done. But the energy still there. Not the energy and the work, not the karma, not the self, but the energy. What the karma built and kept going for all those years, however many there were, came to an end. But the energy that fostered that momentum, that fostered that kinetic force, leaves. And where does it go? right back into the pool of energy, the potential. You're not there, but the energy that you grew out of with these causes and conditions and tendencies, that's you. You're not there. What's left is the energy. You used up your battery, right? So the energy goes right back into the pool of potential, albeit with some agitation. Agitation that is sufficient to disturb, cause waves, somehow residual positive, negative energies. However that works, this is an experiential thing. So I'm not going to become a particle physicist and try to explain what mass and not mass is and how photons collect to create light, more or less, radiation, because they don't have mass, they're just energy. So when you combine two beams of a flashlight, do those photons intersect? What do they do when they intersect? Because they have no mass. Do they just amplify? Something is affected. And that effect can create work. It can create work that can build on itself or just fall away. It can just swim along with the rest of the quiescent energy. But there's an opportunity there for disturbance. Not your disturbance. Energy's energy. It's not particular until it starts forming work or effort. That's where the particulars begin. And they begin about whatever that energy in that sector, in that place that isn't a place, whatever that is, I don't want to say convenient, but however, maybe energy has sides to it. That's ridiculous. But trying to visualize it, what's going on there. To a Buddhist, that's not really important. What's important is knowing how we come about. And from that pool of energy, of potential, that is potential nothing, as well as potential something, whatever that disturbance is that leans into maybe more of this, that's when a direction is taken, a momentum is taken, and a what's the word I'm looking for? A shower of events happen one on another. Then there's karma, work, effort, happenstance, whatever it is that amalgamates energies. Maybe they're just slightly at different energy levels. We said quiescent, we didn't say dead. So energy may have a range of characteristics. Not karma, energy itself. Like gravitational waves or quantum fields. These are things intellectually we know are there, but we have no idea how to dissect them and talk about them. Well, Buddha was talking about the same thing 3,000 years ago. And by all of his teachings, we see that he doesn't spend a tremendous amount of time there. He just leaves it as this bubble that the cultures of the day will fill in with their own magical thinking. What's important, though, is what happens with that energy and how we result from it, and what is our opportunity while we're here to see through that lens. Because that's the way to liberate ourselves from the momentum. Instead of feeling like you're duct taped to the front of a locomotive that's going 200 miles an hour and every bug in the world is hitting you in the face, if you understand that you're not really there, that the freight train is an invention of your perception of what you are, suddenly you're removed from that whole drama and you can observe it. You can maybe even laugh at it because it's kind of comical without feeling it. And so enlightening, awakening is about lifting us, liberating us from that freight train of karma. And that's what the conditioned Genesis is. That's what the Nidana is. That's what the understanding the Skandhas is, or the nine consciousnesses. It's not because you're going to take a test and you have to label these correctly. It's just a helpful tool to help you wrap your mind around what's actually happening in life. Then I get into creativity. So that's probably, talked way longer than I wanted to. I just want you to get a clear idea of how amazing, number one, it is that we can know this. And also amazing at how we can not know this. You know? So when we chant Namo Myo Renge Kyo, we're going, okay, let me look at this. Oh. Instead of being buried in it, trying to wade through it. I can't get air. Right? Namo Myo Renge Kyo. That's your key. Walk out of that place. Don't leave it entirely, just because it's amazing. So take your time here to see how amazing it is instead of how suffering it is, and your life will completely change. Can you stay in that place all the time? Maybe. How much can you focus on your Buddha mind, your Buddha nature, your Buddha-ness? Right? There's always going to be those in our human environment that are going to challenge and run into that freight train of karma. So what do? Do you experience it as your freight train? Two freight trains running together, suffering, bucko, confrontation, ouch? Or do you at least walk the path of a bodhisattva who's optimally aware of his Buddha knowledge from his Buddha experience? And when she goes into a situation where other freight trains are coming at her, she sees them with equanimity, maybe even awed by them, but not confronted by them because she's not in the freight train. Make sense? All right, I keep saying I'm going to end this, but I hope this is helpful. And if it's not, you know what? Toss it aside and just go back to your practice. Maybe at this point in your life, you don't need this whole falderall about all this dissection of what's going on, what makes you, right? Don't worry about it. You don't need to know this to be an excellent Buddhist, to practice with a single-mindedly conviction, determination to see through your Buddha. Maybe it's easier for you. Maybe the moment you start chanting to your mandala of Gohantan, you immediately settle into your spine. A smile starts to creep on your face. Everything tingles. And life is just amazing. Maybe you carry that with you all day. Wow, I want to hear from you. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. Please take care of your health. Be kind to yourself and others. And I'm not sure what the next video is going to be about. Haven't figured it out yet. I need to chant some more. Or listen to any more of your suggestions, okay? I hope this was helpful, not confounding. And as I said, if it's confounding, set it aside. Maybe it'll be useful next year. Or maybe never. Maybe you don't need to know this. Just know that your practice is based on tremendous scholarship. Trust it. Use it. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Once again, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo.